The night was deep and quiet. The city streets were empty, like they were sleeping under a blanket of quiet. Ali was walking alone, the soft sound of his footsteps echoed. So many years had passed since he last saw these familiar streets. He was finally coming back to the place that was once his home. The air felt a little different, or maybe he himself had changed. He had a small bag with him, but his heart was heavy with things unsaid and memories. He hoped for a gentle welcome. He reached the old, familiar street. Every house held a story, a whisper from his childhood. His own house stood at the end, like a quiet watchman. It looked just as he remembered it, but a bit older, maybe a little tired. A soft light shone from one window, a beam of light in the dark. Ali stopped, his breath caught in his throat. This was it, the moment he had thought about so many times on his long journey. He felt hopeful and a little scared. Taking a deep breath, Ali slowly walked towards the door, the same old wooden door he knew so well. He remembered drawing a small flower on it when he was a kid. He wondered if any trace of it was still there. His hand hesitated for a moment, then he knocked. In the deep quiet of the night, the knock sounded louder than he thought it would. It was like a magic spell had been broken. He waited, his heart was pounding, listening for any sound from inside. A few moments went by, feeling like forever. Then he heard a soft noise from inside. The lock turned with a familiar click. The door slowly creaked open, revealing a soft, warm light. A figure stood there in the light. Ali knew, even before his eyes could get used to the light, who it was. It was his mother. The years had added new lines to her face, but she still felt like the same comforting presence he remembered. He was home. His mom peeped into the darkness. Her eyes, even though she was older, were still sharp. She blinked, trying to see who was at the door so late at night. Then, a flash of recognition, and then she couldn't believe it. "Ali?" she said softly, her voice was shaking. Her hand went to her mouth. Tears filled her eyes, shining in the dim light of the hallway. These were tears of joy, of relief, maybe of sorrows held back for a long time. Ali could only nod, his own throat was tight with feelings. "My son, you're back," she finally managed to say, her voice thick with tears. She reached out her hands were shaking, and hugged him tightly. Ali held her close, breathing in the familiar smell of home, of his mom. It was a hug that said so much, closing years of distance in just one moment. There were no big words, just the powerful language of a mother's love, of a son's return. He felt a warmth spread inside him, a warmth he hadn't realized he missed so much. She led him inside, her hand in his. The house felt warm and welcoming. Many things were just as he remembered them. The tick-tock of the old clock in the hallway, the same familiar pattern on the curtains. But there were small changes too. New pictures on the wall, a different rug in the small living room. His mom kept looking at him, her eyes filled with joy and a little sadness for the years gone by. She made him sit down. She brought him a glass of water, her hands still a little shaky. Then, she started to talk, her voice soft and comforting. She told him about the neighbors, about the small changes in town. She talked about everyday things, simple things. But for Ali, her voice was like a gentle comfort. He listened, just happy to be there with her. He had missed this simple peace, this selfless love. He felt that the tight knot in his chest was starting to loosen a little. After a little while, when the first wave of feelings calmed down a bit, his mom's face became a bit serious. "There's something," she began, her voice a little softer now. "Something your dad left for you, Ali." His dad. That word hung in the air between them. His dad had passed away a few years ago when Ali was away. A wave of old sadness mixed with new curiosity washed over him. He wasn't there. He hadn't said goodbye. His mom took him to his dad's study room, to an old bookshelf. From the bottom shelf, she carefully took out a sturdy wooden box. It wasn't very big, but it looked old, its corners softened by time. A light layer of dust covered its lid. "He told me to give this to you, whenever you came back," she said softly, her eyes lost in memories. "He said you would understand." Ali looked at the box, a strange feeling stirring inside him. What secrets, what memories did it hold? Ali took the box from his mom. It felt surprisingly heavy in his hands. He took it to his old room, the place filled with the shadows of his childhood. He sat on the edge of his bed, the box resting in his lap. For a moment he just looked at it, hesitating to open it, afraid to disturb the sleeping past inside. What would he find? Would it bring more pain or maybe some understanding? He knew he had to open it. His dad had wanted him to. Taking a deep breath, he gently lifted the lid. Inside, resting on a faded piece of cloth, were treasures from his childhood. A small, broken toy car, a handful of colorful marbles, some old, well-read storybooks. There were also some of his childhood drawings, the colors still surprisingly bright. And then, he saw his school reports with his dad's neat signature at the bottom of each one. Each item was a whisper from the past, a forgotten piece of himself. Underneath these small reminders of his youth, Ali found something else. It was a thick, sealed envelope. His name was written on it in his father's familiar, strong handwriting, a letter, his father's letter. His heart started to beat fast. When he picked it up, his hands were shaking a little. This was it, this was what his father wanted him to see. He carefully opened the envelope, a feeling of fear and wanting filled him. He unfolded the pages. The letter started simply, "My dear son, Ali." As he read on, he felt his father's voice echo in the quiet room. The words were not of anger or disappointment like he might have once feared. Instead, they were full of deep, unspoken love. His father wrote about his regrets, about his struggles to show his feelings. He explained that his strict ways were never meant to be cruel. It was his clumsy way of trying to prepare Ali for a tough world. The letter spoke of misunderstandings, of a father's hidden pain and pride. His father admitted that he had missed Ali a lot. He wrote about his hopes for his son's happiness and success. He said sorry not in big words but in simple, heartfelt sentences. He wrote that he had always loved him more than words could say. Ali's eyes blurred with tears. These were not tears of sadness but of understanding, of a deep emotional peace. The father he knew, and the father in the letter, finally became one. When Ali finished reading, a feeling of peace washed over him. A heavy weight he had carried for years felt like it lifted from his shoulders. The misunderstandings, the unspoken words, the distance, everything melted away in the warmth of his father's last message. Now he understood. He felt he was forgiven, and he forgave too. The love had always been there, hidden just beneath the surface. Holding the letter close, Ali felt a quiet hope. He was home, and in a way, his father was home too, in his heart.